is there a truly reality out there that humans could really know? It's an age-old battle between realists and absolutists. God is not great, how religion ruins everything. And yet it's utterly and totally ridiculous. We need to live for something beyond ourselves. However unintentionally, maybe it was unintentional, I don't know. My folks, when done raising me, had pretty much raised an unrepentant relativist. For me, if the same object meant different things to different subjects, then objects meant nothing in and of themselves, but they assumed meaning only when a subject us attributed it to them. I didn't need a Michel Foucault or a Friedrich Nietzsche or a Richard Rorty to tell me this. I knew it all on my own. Truth was subjective. Truth existed only in the mind. And because mind saw things differently, objective truth didn't exist. It was no more real than the ghost of King Lear's grandfather. And yet, over time, I've come to a little bit different of an understanding of that now. And that's what I want to look at. As I said, when I was young, I was very, very hardcore relativist and just adamant promoter of it. And I can remember one time I tried to hammer this point home to a drunken British Army deserter as we argued about an empty beer can in an apartment in Stockholm. And I said, "Look, doofus," I said, pointing to the bottle between us, "when you look at the beer bottle, you're seeing something different than I am. You're seeing it from your own angle, which is different from mine. You're seeing it through your own eyes, which are different from mine. And whatever you see through your eyes, you're filtering it and interpreting it and emoting it through your own past experiences, which are different than mine. Though we're looking at the same object, how could we possibly see the same thing?" So even with a beer bottle, I was convinced everything was relative. Now, all this changed for me, though. Changed for me one night in a pizza parlor. And this dogmatism, this relativistic dogmatism was shattered in a Florida restaurant because of a pizza. And because of a pizza, I suddenly knew that objective truth had to exist. Now, what am I talking about? Okay. They put the pizza on this table in front of me, okay? And I looked at the pizza, and then I suddenly realized that maybe somebody thought that aliens from the constellation Canis Minor, dropped it out of a spaceship. Maybe 50 billion pizza, 50 people or 50 million people might have been sure that the god Marduk had created the pizza. And they might have not only been sure that Marduk created it, they were only so sure that they would have died or even killed for their belief in how the pizza got there. Maybe somebody think it evolved from slime in the back of the kitchen over billions of years, and that's how the pizza got there. 1 million people might have had 1 million different beliefs about the pizza's origins, and maybe every last one of them was wrong. Maybe it would be impossible for any human being anywhere to know how the pizza got there. All that aside, though, somewhere out there had to have been an explanation for how the pizza got there. And that explanation, whatever it was the truth about the pizza. And then at that moment it hit me. Just as that pizza had to have an explanation. I mean, somehow the pizza got there, something explained how the pizza got there, and whatever that was the truth about the pizza. Well, I looked around and, I exist. There's a table. There was a world around me. And in the same way that I knew that somewhere out there had to have been an explanation for the pizza, I knew somewhere out there had to have been an explanation for the world and for the universe and all that. I mean, I know it all comes filtered through the minds. I don't need Kant and all that to tell me that. But whatever was out there that's getting filtered in my mind, it's there. And in the same way that the pizza had to have an explanation, I knew that the world, the universe, and all that had to have an explanation as well. And whatever that explanation was, that would be the truth about the pizza. It was almost like I was having my own personal Copernican revolution, where I suddenly used to think all truth, was centered around me, like the way they thought the universe, everything centered around the earth, and then Copernican changed all that. Well, at the set moment, it hit me. My epistemological center of gravity was just sort of wrenched away from me, away from myself, to the realization of a reality that existed outside of my mind. I mean, transcending the subjectivity and the relativity and the contingencies that, hijack every moment of human experience. Transcending that, objective reality, originating in something, has to exist. There's something out there, no matter how filtered it comes through me. And then that hit me then, because there's something out there. There's a real world out there. That said to me that somewhere that real world had to have an explanation. And that explanation, for whatever the world was, would be the truth about the world. Truth as in like a capital T. Just as the same way there had to be a truth about how the pizza got there. That was the capital T truth about the pizza. I knew with the universe and the world, somewhere out there, there had to be an explanation for it. And that explanation for it, whatever it was, whether I could ever know it or not, because even though I realized that there might be, there definitely was this truth out there, I realized I might not ever be able to know it. And I'll never forget, too, I walked out of that pizza parlor, the ground kind of feeling a little harder than it ever felt before. And its thought just came to me. I just had this burning inside me. And I thought to myself, because I suddenly realized that truth had to exist. And you might think, oh, Mickey Mouse could have told you that. But no, how I was raised my whole life. Way to believe that against everything that I concluded that evening, that objective truth exists. Absolute truth with the capital T. And I thought to myself, if it were possible to know this truth about my origins, about the origins of the world, about why we are here, how we got here. And I remember thinking I wanted to know. I didn't care where it led me, what it cost, what I had to suffer, what I had to give up. I thought I wanted to know, no matter what. It's hard to understand. I can't explain it. But it almost seemed like a sacred duty to me to try to find out what the truth was. Again, I can't say just suddenly I thought, wow, there is truth out there. There has to be truth. And it suddenly hit me, wow. I felt, for some reason, I just felt this moral obligation. I thought I have a moral obligation to try to find it if it were humanly possible. Because again, just because truth, at that moment, I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt, truth had to exist. But that's not the same thing as saying, well, because truth has to exist, I automatically can find it. Or I automatically will find it. That's a whole separate issue right off the bat. But what really blew my mind was the realization, after I was maybe 21 years old, was the realization that truth existed, period. Beyond that, nothing but contingencies, at least as far as I could see. I guess the ultimate point I'm making is, despite everything we've been told and despite common belief to the contrary, truth has to exist because something here exists. Somewhere out there, there is an explanation for reality, in the same way that there was an explanation for the pizza or for anything. A car, a dog, a cloud, whatever, anything here, anything that once didn't exist and then came into existence has to have an explanation. And that explanation, whatever it is, is the truth about it. And there is a universe. And they now say the universe once didn't exist, then came into existence. They say it came in through the Big Bang. Well, fine, that may be the Big Bang, but how did all the stuff for the Big Bang get there? But again, for me, the main thing for me was that night when it hit me. My whole life, no such thing. Truth is relative, subjective. You have your truth and you have your truth, and it doesn't matter if they blatantly contradict. Well, on one level, that's fine. But when you step back and look, there's a world, there's a universe here. We're conscious beings in it. Somewhere out there, Somewhere, maybe science could find it, maybe science can't. Maybe it's beyond science. But we exist, the world exists, the universe exists. There's something there. Something has to explain how it all got here, why it all got here. Maybe it's all meaningless and purposeless, that's fine. But whatever that explanation is, that is the truth about the world. And that is the truth with a capital T.